make sure I had a radio program stuff.
Well, I think,
I know.
and you're happy with that, right?
I'm happy.
Oh, do you know
We're good to go? All right.
who do you go to?
Oh,
All right, I guess we're good to go. According to Michael, we've got a film going, so we're all set.
What are we watching it on?
On YouTube once it's all done.
On YouTube, on the Hoag Library site.
All of these talks get recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so.
Yeah, so all you have to do is to click on my talk.
If you want to rewatch last month's.
I was going to say it's like for the last, 9 months or something we've had them up there?
We've had them actually, the last couple of years.
Couple of years, yeah.
What do you look under on YouTube? Or to get the right YouTube?
If you just go to YouTube and look up Hoag Librarian.
Hoag Library. Okay.
Yep.
And then go to local history.
Okay.
Yep.
I can remember
You should
that.
connect from there.
I should have today's up by later tonight.
Good.
Put that with the beer license?
Oh, geez.
That'll work out.
Yeah.
If it gets sad, it's going to get more crying.
Well, thanks for coming, everybody. And the idea of this Albion meets P.T. Barnum, I was looking for something else and kind of tripped over this idea. There were two Albion residents, men who lived here, Peter B. West and Stephen Hallock, who both had connections with P.T. Barnum. In fact, P.T. Barnum came here to Albion. Peter B. West was English by birth, was an artist. He came to the United States in 1873. He spent part of his early career in the U.S. working as an animal painter for P.T. Barnum. So he painted the animals on the trucks that P.T. Barnum used to transport his animals. And also on the circus wagons that P.T. Barnum used when the event happened. After those days, Peter West settled in Orleans County and lived on Clarendon Road in Albion, where he painted landscapes, farmsteads, and animals for wealthy clients. Now, when you get done today, if you go out past the front desk and turn right where the reference is, if you look up on the wall, his paintings are up there on the wall. And the house that belongs to the other man I'm going to talk about. So you can see them after you get done hearing about them. His works are here now in the library. They were donated to Hoag Library, so that's where we have them. It has the Hallock Homestead, which is just south of Albion, across from the chiropractor, or Oak Orchard Chiropractor. Across the road is a big red farmhouse. That's the Hallock house, the other man I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that this is really hometown things. Peter West was born in Bedford, England, and studied in London at the Leeds School of Arts with his father, Robert West, and emigrated to the United States in 1863. In New Orleans and other cities, he did restoration paintings, and then while living in Cleveland, turned to depiction of horses. Later, he did landscapes and ended up here in Albion. So he had quite a reputation before he moved here. Peter West found work decorating the parade circus wagons for P.T. Barnum. West utilized his formal painting skills, which he developed in England, to create elaborate animal pictures and decorative art for Barnum. West eventually settled in Orleans County, near the user's location in Albion. In other words, where he established as a prominent portrait and landscape painter. So West was here and painted portraits and landscape. He painted numerous pieces for the wealthy and social elite. His subjects included farmsteads, still lifes, and domestic animals. Today, examples of his work can be found in museums and historical collections, some in the Cobblestone Museum, and some here at the library. It's remarkable, the people who knew Peter West. Now, I haven't tracked down what this was about, but I found a letter on behalf of Edith Roosevelt, thanking Peter B. West for his gift. And it says, Mrs. Roosevelt has asked me to acknowledge the receipt of your favor of the 10th with the enclosure and to thank you for kindly expressions of good wishes. Yours truly, Secretary to the President, and it's addressed to P.B. West, Albion, Orleans County, New York, which I thought was rather cool, that he was sent the thank you letter from President Roosevelt's office to Albion, New York. I think in doing this research too, at one time, Alvin Briggs, who was a local artist here in Albion, a native, he supposedly shared a studio with Peter B. West, which was located near the canal in downtown Albion. We also know he lived most of his life in Albion rather than Childs. So I have to give Albion's the right. Even though I'd like to claim him for Childs, I can't. Now that besides Peter West being here, I talked about Stephen Hallock's house across from the chiropractor down south of Albion. Stephen Hallock had, Peter West did a picture of Stephen Hallock's house in 1887. The painting, which now hangs in the main reading room of Swan Library, well, now it's in Hoag Library. And so if you go out to, like I said, in front of the front desk and turn right, the reference area there, if you look up on the right-hand side, you'll see this picture of the Hallock homestead. It's signed and dated by the artist in the lower right-hand corner, so we know it's definitely done by him. P.B. West was a local and noted artist of the last century who excelled in painting animals. Stephen Hallock was one of Orleans County's wealthiest and best-known citizens when he died. It's said that he was the first self-made millionaire in the county. I didn't realize that Albion had a millionaire who lived here.
He must be really fascinating.
Yeah. His residence, shown in the painting, is now the home of Mr. and Mrs. Lynn Parsons, which was who lived there at the time this was written. Located on 98, about a mile south of Albion. Stephen Hallock began a long and active business life without a dollar, and with his brother Isaac, at first operated a threshing machine. He also engaged in farming and raising stock, including horses, cattle, sheep, and swine, and was considered one of the best judges of such. He was a progressive farmer, owning several farms in Orleans County, along with farms in Kansas, Nevada,
Wow.
and other western states.
And this is still in the 1800s?
Yeah.
Wow.
With a keen eye for business, he was a dealer in stocks and bonds and held many mortgages on farms and other real estate. Many times he helped those who were in distress, unable to help themselves. He was a strong supporter of the Pullman Universalist Church, survived by his widow, the former Sarah Gibson, who he married in 1860. Mr. Hallock was laid to rest in Mount Albion. And his family monument is marked by one of the largest monuments in the cemetery. So he kept portraying his money even after death. The painting of his house by Peter West was a keen, the man had a keen insight into business and was a dealer in stocks and bonds and held many mortgages. And Peter B. West realized that was a good man to do a picture of his house, to remember this man who lived in Albion and had such influence. The famous showman P.T. Barnum visited Orleans County in 1865 to give a lecture called The Art of Making Money. His talk served as the grand opening event for Bent's Opera House in Medina. Bent's Opera House was constructed in 1865. P.T. Barnum was the first notable figure to utilize the stage, establishing the Opera House as a cultural hub for the region. So on opening, ta-da, you've got him there, which really puts the thumbprint on that Opera House. Following Barnum's debut, the venue also hosted other touring legends, including Buffalo Bill Cody. So, today, the fully restored 1865 building functions as a multi-use complex. Stephen Hallock, the oxen. Hallock famously bred and sold massive prize-winning oxen and steers to P.T. Barnum for his traveling exhibitions. One of his prize-winning pairs weighed over 8,000 pounds and measured 12 feet long.
This was a bear?
This was a pair of prize-winning oxen.
Oxen, okay.
Yeah. And I've seen a picture of them with the horns out. Standing there, and he's standing with them on a rope. And I'm thinking, what happens if they take off? Yeah. He's gone. Hallock was widely considered Orleans County first self-made millionaire. He was a major figure in Albion community, serving as a trustee for the Pullman Memorial Church. His legacy lives on through local art, historical archives. And Peter B. West painted Hallock and his colossal twin steers and made an artwork out of that. Stephen Hallock died in his family home just a mile south of Albion, April 26th, age 85 years. He was one of Orleans County's wealthiest capitalists and for many years was a prize stock exhibitor and a director of the Albion Cold Storage. When he was born in 1830, he was born in Barry. His father, Rufus Hallock, was 36 and his mother, Susan Tucker, was 25. He married Sarah Gibson in 1860 and lived in Albion for 25 years. He died April 24th, 1915 in Albion at the age of 85. Stephen Hallock, they refer to him as a self-made millionaire, known for his extensive land holdings and prize-winning livestock. He was remembered as a progressive businessman who frequently helped neighbors and individuals experiencing financial distress. So he used his money for local people who really needed it. In addition to agriculture, Hallock was an active dealer in stocks and bonds and held extensive mortgages on real estate. So he really was the man who was running Albion at that point, and maybe half of Orleans County. He's often celebrated in local history because the Cobblestone Museum's historical writings and the Orleans Hub Ghost Walks, they portray him. When they do the ghost walks in the cemetery, there's always a kid who portrays Hallock. It says the death of Stephen Hallock. The death of Stephen Hallock, age 85, occurred in his farm home, 1 mile south of Albion, Saturday night. Mr. Hallock was one of Orleans County's wealthiest capitalists and for many years was a prize stock exhibitor. He was a lifelong resident of Barry and Albion, born in Barry, March 17, 1830, educated in rural district schools, moved to his Albion farm about 50 years ago and lived there ever since. He was director of the Albion Cold Storage Company and largely interested in other enterprises. He leaves only his wife. The funeral will be held at the farm home in Albion Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Reverend Charles Vale officiated. And you can see this later because they're too small. But there is an example of Peter B. West's oil painting, Twin Prize-Winning Steers from 1896. The photo at right shows Stephen Hallock with his twin steers. On the back it says, prize steers bred by Stephen Hallock, Albion, New York, and exhibited at State Fair, Syracuse, New York. Weight, 8,040 pounds. Calved August 1881, 12 feet, 6 inches long, 14 feet around the chest, 3 feet, 2 inches across the hips. The West painting could have been done when the steers were 15 years old. So there's a painting, but there's also a photograph of those steers. If you'd like to see them, I'll hold that up. The Blanchard Vinegar Works of Albion probably will not be started up again by the Blanchard Vinegar Company. Stephen Hallock of Albion has bought the stock of vinegar for $7,000 and has made an offer of a like sum for the plant. So he bought the local vinegar plant. This one I thought was interesting too. This was in the newspaper. On Tuesday, Mr. Stephen Hallock, whose farm is located south of the village, picked one hill of beans consisting of 3 roots or stems on which were 440 beans. The beans are known as Michigan Wonder, a new variety in this locality, and are very prolific. Mr. Hallock has just pulled 26 acres of them, and the crop is an immense one. Well, I would think so. 26 acres, and this one stem had 440 beans.
Wow.
That
So
was
these are green beans in the pot.
Beans are known as Michigan Wonder. I don't know what Michigan Wonder is, but there were a lot of them. There was an article that Bill Lattin wrote up in Be Thinking of Old Orleans. It talks about Stephen Hallock. He began a long and active business life without a dollar and with his brother Isaac, at first operating a threshing machine. He also engaged in farming and raising stock, including horses, cattle, sheep, and swine, and was considered one of the best judges of such. He was a progressive farmer, owning several farms in Orleans, along with farms in Kansas and Nevada, and other western states. It also said he is a supporter of Pullman Universalist Church, and that he was laid to rest in Mount Albion. There were articles in the paper when he passed away. This one is in October 4th, 1913. Painted Barnum circus wagons. Peter B. West, artist, is dead at Albion. It tells you that he painted Barnum and Bailey circus wagons. And in 1876, at the centennial, he won second prize for the first work executed by an artist in the U.S. or Canada. At Chicago World's Fair, he was awarded honorable mention for his animal exhibits. And, as I said, he's buried in Mount Albion. When you go, if you go past the front desk and go to look at the paintings, there are several there of dead rabbits or dead game that he painted. So there are like 3 of those, I think, along with the picture of Hallock's house. Mrs. Ellen Byers West died Saturday at the Dr. Cora B. Latin Hospital in Albion. She was 73. That was January 18th, 1917. Let's see about her passing. This I thought was cute. This was in the Democratic Chronicle. Albion Bridge is spunky, goes up in the air and refuses to come down for an hour. Traffic across the Erie Canal in this village was at a standstill for about an hour on Saturday afternoon. This is July 13th, 1913. When the Main Street electric lift bridge refused to work after being elevated to let a boat pass through. The bridge has given considerable trouble in being operated, and experts who have charge of that for the work of the state have failed to remedy the defect. Electrician Paul R. West of this village was summoned after the bridge had been set out of service for an hour and discovered that a piece of cement which had been dislodged and had fallen back of a brake band, causing it to fail to release. He removed the chip and the bridge was lowered. So Paul fixed the bridge. The other family that was connected with this was the Barnum family locally. Now, I have to say, I knew a Barnum.
I did too in high school.
Janice Barnum Thane.
Mine
She
was
lived in
Peggy.
Gaines. When I was appointed historian, I chose her as my deputy. Mike Thane,
My thing, yeah.
his mother.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
She was a Barnum.
she was Barnum. Yeah. Now there's some connection between P.T. Barnum and our Barnums, but it is a distant connection. They're distant cousins, but for this talk, they're Barnums. Noah G. Barnum and P.T. Barnum both descend from the original immigrant ancestor, Thomas Barnum of Connecticut. While Noah was dedicated to the lineage, their specific blood connection spans back to this common ancestor rather than being immediate family. So, because of the first Barnum that came over here, that's who they're related to. But closeness after that can't be proven. In the book Landmarks of Orleans County, Noah Greeley, a relative of Horace Greeley, was born in New Hampshire in 1766. He married Anna Powell in 1793, and in 1810 they moved to Homer, New York, where he built a sawmill and a grist mill, afterwards purchased a farm. He moved to Locke, Cayuga County, thence Allegheny County, and in 1817 to Carlton, settling in the northwest corner of the town, on Lot 12, Section 12. The summer of 1819 was very sickly, and he and his wife, 13 children, and nearly all their neighbors were sick from the malaria fever that prevailed. 13 children. That he might have better nursing than his sick family could give, some neighbors carried him on a rude litter of poles and bark to the home of Elijah Hunt 2 miles east. As he was taken from the house, he bade his sick wife and children goodbye, and none of them except his oldest daughter, Mrs. Rensselaer Warner, who was able to visit him occasionally, ever saw him again. He died in October of that year. His wife died in 1849. Their children were Anna, Lucy, Noah, Clifton, Alvin, Gilman, Dustin, Fanny, Ever, Asa, Nancy, Sally, and Alfred. Of these, 11 were Methodists, 2 were Baptists. None ever used ardent spirits, and only 1 smoked tobacco. Only 1 was married more than once. The youngest was 50 years of age when the first of the children died. I think that's quite a phenomenon in itself. As I said, P.T. Barnum gave a talk called The Art of Money Getting when he first spoke at the Pratt Theater. And he did write a booklet, and in that are 20 golden rules outlined by Barnum about money. And I've got, let's see, 3, 6, 7 of them. Select the right vocation. Choose work you love and excel at rather than chasing fads. How many times have we heard choose what you love to do and it'll be easy? Persevere, stay dedicated, and do not let temporary failures stop your progress. Depend on yourself. Avoid waiting for others to build your fortune or relying on luck. Be charitable but cautious. Help others, but ensure you do not jeopardize your own financial stability. Advertise your business. Let the public know what you offer to build demand. Avoid debt. Never live beyond your means, and stay clear of borrowing for frivolities. Always honor your promises and maintain a spotless reputation. That's just the beginning of the 20 rules that P.T. Barnum wrote for people to live by. Noah Greeley Barnum was born in Yates in 1825 and died in Gaines in 1919 at the age of 94. So I think he had a pretty good life. P.T. Barnum was hailed from Bethel, Connecticut branch of the family. Both lines descend from the original immigrant Thomas Barnum, who settled in Connecticut in the 1640s. Noah G. Barnum lived out his life in Orleans County, passing away at 94 in 1919 as the oldest man in the county at the time. During his later years, he privately printed his massive 1517 to 1904 and 1350 to 1907 genealogies in Albion, New York. Now, I'd love to find copies of those and get them, since they were written here by someone who lived here for a famous family. And he heavily documented his extended family's migration from New England to Western New York. It goes on to say that, you know, research locally to find out how he lived here. The family link P.T. Barnum hailed from Bethel, Connecticut branch of the family. Both lines descend from the original Thomas Barnum. Noah lived out his life in Orleans County, and during his later years, he privately printed his genealogies in Albion. So they were printed here in Albion. I'd love to get my hands on them. And you can access them by searching Family Search Catalog. So they must have copies online, but I would think they were pretty extensive. The Opera House, when Bent's Opera House in nearby Medina first opened, it served as a major regional cultural hub. Barnum was the inaugural headliner, drawing crowds to the stunning sandstone building to hear his lecture. The famed showman was distantly related to the Barnum families who settled in and around Albion, New York in the 19th century. Several genealogy records of the Barnum family were published directly out of Albion in the early 1900s. Barnum's legendary knack for showmanship and trickery even made its way into regional lore. Historical accounts from the 19th century New York papers recall eccentric Orleans County residents corresponding with Barnum, claiming they could perform magic tricks like removing the effigy from the disk of the sun. So he got people inspired to fake out their abilities, I guess. But there is a legacy of Barnum and Peter B. West and Stephen Hallock here in Orleans County, and they were all nationally known